Greetings, fellow officers. Radamon here. Thank you for tuning in to Starsector Homeworld. Episode 49, Changing Up Our Officers. We are still going to be working towards hiring an admin so that I could potentially colonize another orbital hab and building up the fleet. And in building up the fleet, what we want to do is we want to reduce the D mods on our ships, increase the S mods on our ships, and yeah, all that jazz. So that's the plan for now. All the while, we also want to continually thwart Tritac's effort to mess with our trade. I think what I'm going to end up doing is having you guys decide whether or not I do commerce rating myself. So there's two ways, as I mentioned, for the colony threat. So let me go over to the colony threat right now. The Tritac commerce rating. The Tritacian Corporation needs to be convinced that continuing investment in acting against your interests is unprofitable in the long term. If you are able to send this message without becoming openly hostile, or smooth any ruffled feathers afterwards, this may even mark you as someone whose understanding of business realities makes them worth working with. So what we need to do is we can raid their trade fleets, we can destroy their commerce raiders, or we could disrupt industries on their planets. There are orders of magnitude of like reaction from this. Destroying their commerce raiders is maybe the least hostile action. It's self-defense. Attacking their trade fleets is a little bit more hostile because we're actively seeking out their commerce fleets and destroying them. And their commerce fleets actually might be coming to trade with either us or our allies, so like it could be problematic. Or the most aggressive action would be to go to their planets and actually raid them, disrupting their industries, which is kind of extreme thing to do. But the way this works is as the commerce rating progresses, this commerce rating is separate from colony crisis. So as the colony crisis goes up, they will make moves to sort of like stop our exports. But as the commerce rating goes up, they will post a bounty on us. And then once it maxes out, I basically convince them to back off. So it's like two different bars completely separate from one another, if that helps. And we're going to want to continue to thwart Tritac as much as we can, because they're going to be messing with our trade, they're going to be messing with our planet, and that's not something we're going to want in the long run. So what I'm going to do right now is put these ships away, these brand new ships we just got, to remove the D-mods off of the other ships that we have. And then once the other ships, the Paragon and the Auroras, are cycled back into the mix, we will raffle them off. But I wanted to wait until they're back into rotation. Alright, so that's the plan. And then the reason for earning money is we're going to need a whole lot more money in order to afford the Paradise planet upgrade and to be able to afford some other terraforming and building up a new colony when we have when we have that all set up. So that's what those priorities are for. So there we go. Here is a commerce raiding fleet, and I am going to join the battle. I'm going to actually tell my second in command to handle it, because I don't really need to do a manual fight. And ship recovery, they do have an Anubis and a Revenant. I don't really want either of them. So as we do these fights, we'll see that the colony crisis goes down and the commerce rating goes up. So we just destroyed one of their commerce raiders, and as a result, we're going to make progress, and I'm sure this is probably obvious to most of you. We're going to make progress in the commerce rating. We're at 20, and when we reach 300, the colony crisis is effectively over. So yeah. I would very much like to try to handle Tritac as peacefully as possible. You know, the whole theme of this run is that we're trying to peacefully coexist with everybody. sort of a kumbaya ending, which is like unusual for me. But the reason is we don't want to make ourselves out to be enough of a threat that other factions want to shut us down or rally against us or whatever. So we're not looking for like dominating other factions. We're just looking to coexist. And as such, we'll need to not be overly aggressive in our reactions. It's the same reason why I didn't like saturate Kazaron when they were like, hey, join our like league. Because, you know, that wouldn't really help our cause in the long run. So we'll be looking for opportunities to thwart Tritac without open engagement, but if it becomes somewhat inevitable that we're not gaining crisis climb fast enough, we might consider raiding their trade fleets or even ramping it up farther. So the progress left on Darad. Darad has 135 days left for the Stellar Manufactory, which allows us to then bioengineer, or geoengineer rather, a mild climate in our system. And then after the mild climate is done, we will be able to then design it into a paradise planet. One that is paradise for all of us stateless. What's that 0 in my fleet? The Paragon? If that was what you were referencing. But I'm not carrying it around with me right now. Alright. Bounties. I wouldn't mind big ticket bounties. Is there a bounty here? Wait, for real? There's a bounty in our own backyard. Okay, let's do that. A deserter. Giant primary star, so obviously not Duo, because that's a dwarf. And Barren Bombarded World. So it's not going to be Alpha Conflux, because that's empty. So you are hiding at Malmeg? Yeah. Let's head over to Malmeg and go mess with them. That was the one I ran from last stream because I was trying to get home or whatever? Ah, that makes sense. Got a lot of hammerheads. Interesting. So what we're after here, if you're wondering, is just to remove as many demods as we can. So that we can have a nice, fresh fleet of salvaged ships. Which is easier said than done, because I can't... You know, if stuff gets destroyed in the process, obviously the progress gets reduced. It's the same reason why we've, like, simply ditched some ships, because it was like, oh, they're just getting themselves demodded over and over and over. And then the other thing is I'd like to S-mod at least ×2, S-mod all of the ships that we currently have. I don't really honestly trust the Mora to be deployed. I think it's best if the Mora stays in reserve. Because that Mora has blown up more than really any other ship in our fleet. Somewhat because our fleet composition isn't very good for a Mora. We have a lot of like fast-moving ambush ships, and the Mora doesn't pair well with fast-moving ambush ships. So it's not that the Mora is like a bad ship. It's, you know, fleet composition issues more than anything, I would say. Wow, okay, Conquest, you're gonna moon me? That was dumb. The Conquest decided to put its shields up against the Onslaught and just like let me broadside slam it. And the other one did the same thing. Talk about learning from your mistakes. Why learn? Just repeat. Repeat mistakes until you're dead-moded. Not demoted, dead-moded. It's a bit different. Come on, Onslaught. My flux is getting hot, bud. What are you doing back there? You're just venting? Oh, that's cool. Alright, the bulk of the big boys is gone. Unsurprisingly. because my ship is basically like a can opener for other ships. And now we just have to crush like a hell of a lot of hammerheads. I must say this ship handles very differently than my other Executor, because this thing has terrible flux stats comparatively because of lower S modding and a lot of D mods. So like my other ship would probably be at 0 flux right now, and this thing's rocking like max flux. I'm not slowing down, mind you, because I'm outside of their like gun range. Whoa, Falcon, what are you doing? What the Falcon? And I must say, it makes a big difference. This was a reasonably large fleet that we're destroying, which means we should be able to remove some demods. That auto-resolve fight I had against the Commerce Raiders did remove a demod. So with any luck, we can ditch some demods here. Fortress Shields is so annoying when used like this. Like, easily, this monitor absorbed more damage from me than, like, the Conquests or the Pegasus did. Because of Fortress Shields. It's crazy how effective that is. I'm surprised it actually hasn't been nerfed. No torpedoes. Get out of here with that silliness. You're my prey. Alright, is there any reason for us to stay here? No, there's really no one on the battlefield anymore. Okay, cool. So, I did my job. We destroyed basically everything and lost nothing. Ship recovery. Hard to pass up on a single D-mod Pegasus or a 2D mod Conquest. So I guess we'll take it. I'm a little upset that there's no monitors in this mix. Like, not a single one. But whatever, we do already have a bunch of monitors. Whoa. That's a strong bionic. Got 2 of them, too. And Major Mildew lost 2 D-mods. So, Operator is like demodless. That's cool. Major Mildew only is 1 now. So we're getting fixed up pretty quick. Personally like that, which is good because our relationship with the Persian League kind of got messed up as a result of the blockade and all that. So bring them back into the fold as a friend to increase our trade would be wise. Joker, thank you for the resub and welcome. Alright, some more Persian Leaguers. I probably want to put the, because we're pretty close to home, put the 2 ships I just recovered away, because I don't need a mega giant fleet. Then we'll get back to it. Trade is nice. Yeah, ultimately, if you anger every other faction, you severely limit the kind of trade that you can have with the rest of the galaxy, which then limits profit. It's a perfectly viable way to play if you want to just like fully dominate the galaxy, but that really wasn't the goal for us, of course. So, you know, if you take a look at Darid, for instance, you can see that we do have some hostilities with other factions. We do have some trade fleet loss. That's a big hit to accessibility, and that's almost certainly because of the Commerce Raiders. But yeah, the high levels of trade definitely benefits us in the long run for self-sufficiency. Because at the end of the day, like, you know, the planets that you colonize essentially pay for the fleets that you run. Why am I doing this? Old habits die hard. I didn't need to actually gate to our neighbor. Okay, and ink just got refining. Cool. So with ink able to do refining, we're going to be able to turn the transplutonic ore and the metal ore that we mine up at Darad into transplutonics and metals. So that should help with the credits per month. It will go up a lot, I suspect. And that's likely also to further piss off TriTac, because that's even more exports. Yeah. So that will get updated soon, I think, for transplutonic metals and regular metals. Raising the colony crisis counter higher. Okay, I'm here at the gate, but where am I headed? I don't even know. 8 days? Yeah, there's not enough time to get there. So the only reasonable bounty to do is yellow primary star in Khufu around a barren world. So you are probably at like Kaidon or something like that. And Khufu is an active gate system, so that should be pretty easy. At Dibblewat. Nep, thank you for the resub. Where's the best chance for me to get admins? If I do see opportunities to get derelict missions, I'll take them. Looking for admins or another captain, because I only have it. Chances are I'll have an opportunity to promote one of my officers to a captain to fill up my entire fleet, because I have not 8 of 9, or sorry, 9 of 10 captains. Oh, I forgot to drop these ships off. Okay, whatever. Then we're towing them around. I'm an idiot, and we're towing them around. Because, wait, hold on. We have full captains. No, I'm wrong. Never mind, I take that back. So just for the admin. Seeking that last admin position filled. JJ, thank you for the resub too. So it'd be nice if I could find them around derelicts. The captain, the administrators, that is. But if I have to hire them at home, that's fine too. So they're not here. So they must not be in the system. Oh, I hate when that happens. I'm trying to transverse jump out, and I clicked previously on the planet, and it just continues to the planet. And it's like, no, I don't want to do that. Alright, so if you're not here, where are you? Beta Khufu? Let's try that. So, the way chat voted for finding the admin is I can hire them, but only from my own systems. I cannot hire them just, like, you know, at, from anywhere. It has to be one of the systems we own. Where is this bounty? What the hell? It's gonna be the last barren world that fits the... Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's exactly what it's gonna be. Okay. There was like six barren worlds that fit the parameters I was looking for, and yeah, it's just the last one. That's cool. Another thing we could consider is doing the technology cache mission, only just to get it off of our mission queue. I have 5 alpha cores just sort of like stashed rainy day level. I really am not going to need them. It's just one of those, I don't really need the bounty or rep, the money or rep I would get from them, so like might as well just keep them. But that tech cache mission, we could definitely manage without issue. Alright, Mora, I'm gonna give you a shot. Don't blow up and fail me. I'm sure you will, because your track record is 100% blowing up my life for ire or whatever, I don't know. Always the last place I look? Yeah. What would a fleet uh-oh, my flux is high. Fleet composition look like for a good Mora? Well, Mora, and this is true of like all carriers. Fighter pilots, fighters don't work so well if there's not enough sort of like chaff in the way. So in my experience, a really good fleet composition for Moras or for any carriers is to fill the battlefield with stuff that tanks well. What that is exactly will vary depending on preference, but something like a bunch of monitors, or you know, it could be something like a bunch of harassing phase ships, or it could be, you know, just something tanky, like an Invictus, where like the Mora can hide behind an Invictus and the Invictus just like absorbs all shots. Whatever the case is, the Mora can't really go out on its own. So what's happening here is a lot of our own ships do like hit and run tactics, and the Mora just doesn't have the capacity to disengage at the speed that like an Aurora can. And it doesn't have the engagement range that like a Dominator does. So a ship like the Dominator or the Falcons that I have in my fleet can either shoot from far enough away that they don't get endangered, or disengage fast enough that they can dump their flux. And then the Mora we have just can't do either. It gets bogged down and can't disengage, and then gets smoked. And it's not really the Mora's fault, because the Mora doesn't have long-range weapons that it's going to allow it to be effective until it gets close. And even then, you know, we just saw the Dominator get a little too close to the Legion and take some dumbfire torpedoes, and I am pushing my flux max just to keep the Dominator alive. And I mentioned this before, but the way I picture these fights, and this isn't exactly true, but I calculate, like, a lot of the times you can tell whether you're going to win or lose, not so much in the, like, weapons or tactics or anything, but just, like, how much flux capacity, passive dissipation, and dissipation do you have versus the enemy fleet, right? Because a lot of these battles end up as a battle of attrition, and in a battle of attrition, flux management essentially what dictates a winner. It's what dictates who gets overloaded first and loses. That obviously is a little bit of an oversimplification, but I think it's actually like a pretty good way to think about combat. Because if it doesn't matter how much damage you can do or how much damage you can absorb, as soon as your flux is full, you're basically ineffective now. And what you're aiming to do is you're aiming to max out the flux of your enemies before they can max out your flux, in the simplest of terms. And there are some weapons that obviously inviolate that because they either bypass flux or they use some sort of mechanic that doesn't care about flux, like the way phase ships or like dooms or mine layers or, you know, so on and so forth. Carriers aren't exactly like that. That's what's interesting about a carrier is the fighters that a carrier deploys is somewhat separate from the flux pool of the carrier itself. So they can, if they're used effectively, be a really good way to buffer your flux, because you have all these little fighters that have their own flux pools. And they can be resupplied and you know, and then you also have missiles that don't take flux to fire, which can be very effective, but as the player, I find myself, oh, who is in there? A fighter or something. As the player, I find that most of the fights I'm in, I don't lose ships very quickly, and I don't tell them to recruit very often, so I like ships that can sustain long fights with low losses, and carriers don't really do that, because for every fighter that you lose people, and then eventually you're like, oh, okay, I have to go hire a whole bunch of people back, because I lost a whole bunch. Alright. Yeah, it's one gremlin, not worth pursuing. Ship recovery. I did mention I want more cruisers, so I guess I'll take the Dominator. It's not a 14th, so that's fine. Yeah, a ship like the Invictus, for reference, an Invictus is like the most armored ship in the game by far, but it also requires like an insane amount of crew. And for a ship like the Invictus, your running cost normally is like supplies and fuel. For the Invictus, it's like supplies, fuel, and people. The Invictus might as well just be like throwing psychers into the warp engine, you know, to keep it fueled. Like you basically keep your ship fueled with like humans. It's very grim. All right. New. Self-faulty power and structural damage removed off of the Dominator we just picked up. Okay, interesting. I'm definitely going to drop these ships off because, like, I'm now hauling around a whole lot of ships pointlessly. So let's go do that. Yes, and there is a whole mod called Recovery Shuttles, especially for the fighter fleets. For sure, for sure. There's ways to limit your losses. I'm just saying, in general, missiles don't use flux, but you generally have a finite amount of them, and they can be really rendered ineffective if your enemy has a lot of good point defense. Fighters are great, but they are often costly, and sometimes can be rendered ineffective, again, if the enemy has a really good point defense, or anti-fighter weapons, pressure weapons, etc. You know, and then you have ballistics and energy weapons, and they both do things differently, and, you know, one's not better than the other, they're just... So all the weapons, I feel like, a pretty good balance. It's not like high-tech weapons or low-tech weapons or medium-tech. There's no, like, clear winner. I find it really interesting that there's, you can mix and match and just find designs that work for you at the end of the day. Well, that was annoying. I'm trying to remove the demods off my fleet, and all the demod removal was for, like, ships I'm not even running. 'Cause, of course. I have so many extra weapons now. So I have a lot of Gauss cannons. What weapon don't I have a lot of? Oh, I'm surprised I don't have a lot of, well, heavy mass drivers, never mind. All right, now before I leave here, there is no admins to hire. I'm just checking. And here in Ink, no admins to hire. One thing I wanted to poll you guys on is whether you think I should change my XOs. Should I change my XO officers? So here was what I was thinking, so that you know where to pull. I'm going to probably continually keep the Starfaring one because that's how you remove demods. I don't really see a reason to get rid of them. But between the technical officer, this is flux regulation, this is sensor profile reduction, and slightly increased autofire accuracy, top speed, energy weapon damage, and ammunition capacity for energy weapons, flux generated by energy weapons, hard flux dissipation while shields are active, and flux generation by active shields. And last but not least, 20% of shield damage by beams is converted into hard flux. The tactical officer, focus fire, so that's non-missile weapon range and projectile speed, weapon recoil. Then we've got rapid response, which is max burn, and maneuverability outside of combat. Pristine condition, where ships lost in combat have a 20% chance to avoid demods, and combat readiness for every S mod on the ship. Tactical drills, all ships have slightly improved auto fire, and then weapon damage for all weapon damage, yeah, for all ships. Full throttle, so zero flux boosts faster, and even faster movement. Basically, I've been taking a lot of the officers that have a lot of movement speed bonuses so that we can be, like, very quick. Because one of the things about movement speed is if you move significantly faster than the enemy, you can disengage quicker to dump your flux. So it's like, I'm treating movement speed as a way of, like, flux management, interestingly. And the last but not least, the accelerated barrels. Now, one of the officers that I had in mind was the management one. The management one allows you to be able to build one more permanent mod into ships over the 2 max, allowing us to potentially have 3S mods per ship for all ships. And that could be hypothetically more effective than the other officers. Hypothetically. The other abilities they have is peak performance increase, which, you know, it's nice if I have phase ships or whatever. Well organized, so this is crew loss during deployment. This would be more helpful for like carriers and the whatnot. Authority, so ship speeds and maneuverability for every objective held, and weapon range for every objective held. Re-entry, which is ship max speed increase. This is when they are deployed, ships deployed a minute after combat began. So this is like if you capture a point early on and then you add reinforcements quickly. This helps that situation. It's pretty specific. More command points in combat. So a lot of their like lower level skills aren't particularly useful. Their medium skills are a little bit better. I can only pick one, and one is range of all weapons increased and ship's resistance to all types of damage increased. But the real thing is like best of the best, you know. And I don't think there's any other exo officers that we would probably want to add besides that. If we really focused on missiles, the strike craft might make sense, or carriers, but we don't really have a missile or carrier fleet specifically. But if you have missiles and carriers, strike craft is the way to go. You have warfare in general, which is also going to be really, really powerful. Disabling an opponent provides the ship with increased stats for 7 seconds, which is like huge flux dissipation. That would really help in my capital ship when I'm just like bang, 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 killing all the things, and I'd be able to like, I don't know, snowball enemies. And then the other ones don't really make a lot of sense. Yeah, these other officers, the scavenging officers, great early on. That's why we use them, but like at this point, it wouldn't be particularly helpful. Engineering is more about not about recovering when you don't die, when you die, rather, you know, if that makes sense. So it's like the threshold for low combat readiness. It's like, yeah, I'm not low combat ready, so that's not a problem. Or prepare for the worst. It's like, yeah, I don't need to prepare to explode. So it looks like you guys think I should replace my exo officer. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the management officer, Snarf, but I'm going to have you pick which officer to get rid of. To demote. So we've got technical. Or technical. And just a reminder between the two. Technical is about top speed, energy weapon damage, flux dissipation. And tactical is like weapon range, maneuverability, auto fire accuracy. And you could pick between those two. And I should probably do it while I'm sitting here in my homeworld, because otherwise there's like a penalty for doing it. Here's our history. That's fun. It's crazy to see like the credits when we spend. It's like 7 mil, 0. It's like, yeah, I know. And while we're sitting here, we can also just sort of scan the local area for commerce rating, because I'm sure TriTech is sending more commerce raiders as we chill here. So it looks like you want to demote the technical officer. Got it. All right, let's go do that. Make it official. So, officers. We're going to put in Snarf, the management officer, and let's pick some good skills. So, more likely to find officers in markets sounds real nice, but like I only need one, so I'm not going to bother with that. We need to have 2 lower tier to get the second tier. So, oof. Authority, maybe? And actually, probably well organized anyway. Confirm that. Alright. Then, only one in this section. Officer management. So, maximum readiness increased by 5%. Peak performance and recovery cost. Or range. Definitely range. And then we need one more lower skill to get best of the best. So, there we go. Alright, so now that we're here, I'm sure I can do some more S-modding on my own ship, because I've been getting tons and tons of experience. Yeah, 20,000. So let's go ahead and build in the... IT is already built in. We'll build in the solar shielding, and then build in the aux thrusters. And then I can build in one more thing. Probably well, actually, let's think about this for a moment. Is there something that has a really good elite version of it? That's a fair question. I could do something wild like efficiency overhaul S-mod, but I don't really need to have efficient ships at this point. I don't think. I could do flux distributor and vent real good, or even it'd be crazy to do unstable injector, but I'm like tempted to have like a very fast executor. It kind of actually sounds good to me in like the worst way possible. My combat readiness would go down though, and I don't think movement speed was really a problem for me all that much. You know, I could do solar shielding. Oh no, that's already S-modded. I'm an idiot. Yeah, and Josic, we did bench you, so sorry about that. There's not like one that's really calling to me, I don't think. I might just do something like the flux distributor and have like great flux management. Let's just do that. All right. So we've got 3 S-mods and arrow. Well, technically 4, but 1 is kind of built in. It wants... I have enough points to put something else in too, so let's do flux coil as well. And there we go. There's our ship. And I really hope that we're able to clear some of these other demods. Thank you for tuning in to Starsector Homeworld, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rodamont.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rodamont.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow officers.